today comparatively to how they were prior.
But just looking at zone at the moment, there's not going to really be a huge amount of options to rotate early, just based upon where this zone is going to be going. So you're going to see a lot more teams playing a slower game, especially when we do mention there's a lot of Valkyrie in the lobby. There's no need to really arrive as early as when Valkyrie isn't in the composition, or maybe when the zone is a little bit more favorable to some natural buildings and cover. Teams who are in zone at the moment, VK, we mentioned they had a quick rotate. Wolves Esports, RRQ are there, Kurosami Havoc and Team Nemesis are already inside the zone. Unlimit, who we're watching right now, are down on the south side, and they're chasing down Sentinels. A couple of these Sentinel shots are connecting. Monsoon's actually going to have to use that castle wall to jump back to the safety of his teammates. Was a little bit split from them there.
Sentinels, who interestingly, they sit in that 14th position at the moment, do Sentinels. They are the current cutoff for those finals qualification positions, but right now, it looks like they are going to struggle to get any further in this game. 2 are going to go down. Is there one remaining player to survive and maybe keep their chances here, as Sito Station is going to be the escape route for the last remaining.
Yeah, Blinks managed to just about get out, but resetting is another question. There is actually a crafter at Sito Station if he wants to try and hit that. Flat going to be moving from Mill, so the exit plan is a little bit shaky for them. Elite, they're going to take to the skies now. The first Valcult that we're going to see on our screens. And from the looks of where they're looking to rotate, it may be potentially towards where Dory find themselves. This could be a little interaction they're not expecting, but the scan from Valkyrie will give them that information. Now, Dory do not look particularly healthy when it comes to armors, and I wonder if Elite will be thinking, hey, we might be able to pick up a couple of KP here.
And Dory do not look particularly healthy when it comes to those leaderboards as well. This is essentially the first team against one of our last teams at the moment in those overalls, if the engagement does happen. So just by how both these teams have been playing, this could be a whitewash.
Yeah, Katsu King. A little bit of help comes from a distance, but Light should be able to finish this one off pretty quickly. He's completely separated from the rest of the team, but oh my. Hold on a minute. Here come the cavalry! And Dory need this more than anyone in the lobby. Light is left on his own, and Elite, who have been so good, have thrown it away! Overconfidence, maybe? Or the rest of Dory arriving just in the nick of time?
I mean, insane. Dory have done little to nothing so far this series, and to do that against a team who is just hot off the press right now, like you mentioned, it was way more important for them than it was for Elite. Elite, they're already going to be in the finals. I think we already know that. 191 points.
Should be enough, you would
we will
imagine.
be seeing them in match point finals, but as I mentioned earlier, Dory, they are still down in those elimination places right now.
That was an interesting one to watch back. I think of all the legends you maybe want to think you could pick off quickly, Newcastle the most frustrating, just playing behind that mobile shield, just bought enough time for the rest of Dory to arrive. Another team who's been quiet so far today is on your screen right now, Team Falcons, and it's ninjas in pajamas who are looking to get aggressive on them. There's a big armor differential between the two teams, and Cole is going to get at least an armor check on one. 60, 120 damage from the longbow of the POV we're watching.
So a lot of these teams trying to rotate uphill at the moment, just getting caught in the backside, and sadly not able to continue their journey because you are so vulnerable when you start to march upward. It looks like Falcons have been able to call somewhere home for now, but yeah, there you go. You have to utilize Valkyrie. They probably didn't want to pop the Valcult that early, but they can't afford to be sitting around because there's going to be so many teams in that area to pick them off.
Do not get pinched. Essentially the secret of Apex Legends at the very top level, and Falcons recognizing they were in that situation. They throw down the dome, they get the Valcult and the Skyward Dive activated, and they get out of dodge. The team who's not doing that right now is Unlimit, because Alonzi is flying in off the back of the grapple on Pathfinder. Peace, he's going to be put back to sleep. We saw him looking a little bit dozy earlier on today before the games got underway. One member of Unlimit still alive somewhere around here, and you can see that they're hunting him down right now, Team Heretics.
Yeah, they're having a look, but actually he's been able to get extremely far across the map. I think there was an early commitment to retreating from that fight, and the rest of the squad said, look, we'll just hold down the fort and you go on your way. So zone-wise, we're going to continue moving a little bit further north. The building you were mentioning earlier that Wolves Esports currently reside in looks very pretty right now, and I'm sure some would like to try and take it away from them. And look at that from Dory. After taking that fight initially against the lobby leaders Elite, now they found themselves up towards the command center or on the western side of it, and actually this could be a fantastic place to hold.
Yeah, really good spot for Dory to hold outside of command center. As long as they can watch their backs and nobody wraps them late in the game, they will have a height advantage. They'll be able to watch everything coming through that spider cave, and if anyone starts to arrive, and the multiple buildings that are held currently by Wolves Esports. But they're going to have some really good angles to pick off some of those late Valk ulting teams in. On Limit, Snoopy's done a great job to escape, like you mentioned, but he's going to have to look for a reset here, and it's looking like a tough game for them.
It's going to be tough for a lot of these late arrivals. There is an interesting development happening on the south as well between Falcons and Shopify Rebellion, but looks like they're going to back off away from each other now. I think all of these teams don't really want to engage because they know the bigger picture is just trying to get to this late end game. And perhaps once they get there and realize that Cascade Falls has got an absolute blockade there, they might start committing to a few more fights and engagements just to try and put points on the board.
Just a little bit of a replay of the fight that we saw between Unlimit and Team Heretics, as we also see essentially the fast forward of what is the reset on the live screen on the left-hand side. Stevie has managed to get the res, but he's being pushed right now by Team Heretics, but he's putting out a huge amount of damage and might be able to even up the numbers before his teammates drop here. Alonzi again.
Bubble goes down. You could opt to go for the rev. I like this. Get the revive. Make sure you get back up to a full 3 so you can actually compete properly. The bubble from Gibby now is just such a difficult thing to try and pierce.
The difficulty for Unlimit is two of them aren't really going to have abilities, considering they've just come out of that dropship. Alonzi has gone down again, though. And with the noise that's being created, a lot of teams are starting to just maneuver towards where this battle is taking place. Unlimit still looking to be aggressive onto this one. Team Heretics just trying to dance around the bubble. Jans being the one inside of it. The R9 spray is good, but Yalari Man is better! And Team Heretics pay for the push onto Unlimit.
The Shopify Rebellion now in the area, potentially trying to pick up the pieces and the scraps that have been left behind. Can Unlimit go unseen, unnoticed, as they try and hide away? But Shopify Rebellion, they are trying to sniff them out. You can see they are above, like a hound looking for a rabbit at the moment, as RRQ also on the outside of this fight.
Shopify just going to elect to play this high ground. Very smart not to drop. You're always going to be stunned upon that drop unless you're playing certain legends, which they certainly aren't. And it would be easy shots for Unlimit, who will get the full reset. Shopify now controlling the respawn hill by the waterfall. And Unlimit are going to be tucked in underneath. Now, both teams will have to leave. You can see the zone has pulled away continually. One team who's managed to get right inside of zone, by the way, nestled up alongside Wolves Esports is Alliance. Very good rotation from them. They're there early as we take our attention away from zone over to NIP and VK Gaming.
VKG will hold their fort. They deny NIP, who I think were just looking for somewhere to call home, but that's going to be go time. You get that first knock, and VKG is sending it.
Well, Vane's trying to get a ball out, trying to get the rest of his team away, but it's only going to go so far, and Castle with that triple take in his hands. He's looking to peek and looking to see if they can capitalize on that knock. So Vane's done a fantastic job actually to get Kolb out of that situation and at least allow Ninjas in Pajamas a chance to reset here.
I don't think enough is said sometimes about how well some of these teams survive and also use their abilities to help teammates get out of certain situations, whether they're knocked or not. As now Team Falcons have actually been able to surpass a lot of the congestion that we saw at Cascade Falls and are going to continue on their journey. I think they used a lot of the noise that was happening elsewhere as a little bit of a distraction here, and now they can play under the bridge for now.
Elsewhere in Cascade, you can see Shopify Rebellion up on the high ground. This is where the zone is going to be ending, though. This is the compound at the top of the cannon and at the bottom of the zip line, depending on how you want to look at it. Wolves were here early. They had a great early rotation from Cascades. Alliance joined them very soon after. Now it's about looking to the skies. All of these teams later on will be hitting those valve poles to try and play the roofs, try and play some of the staircases underneath. If you could control the space and force teams away, Wolves' chances of winning this game go up significantly. That bubble's going to save RC. No Name decides there's no need to push this.
You look at some of these fights, you're like, without a bubble, they are completely dead there. But without a bubble, you probably don't Valkyrie to that point either. But you are going to see now Wolves just back off and say, all right, we weren't able to take them out on landing, as Virtus Pro will get eliminated on their push.
Yeah, we're going to see a few teams start to get eliminated on this southern side. Flat are going to be the next out of the lobby. Sentinels, who managed to reset thanks to Blixer, are going to be safe inside of Cascade. Elsewhere, look at the zone. Alliance starting to do a little bit of work. Gen G were arriving Ninjas in Pajamas are saying goodbye. They've just been eliminated down on that southern side. A tough rotate for them, but having had to leave that fight with VKG a little bit earlier down on that south side, as Unlimit, who are back in that game, having won that important fight on the respawn, now look to move forward. Rejects have just been eliminated in the meantime.
They might get sandwiched here though, because Team Nemesis are on the other side of it. You've got RRQ on one, Nemesis on the other. Gen G just fell out of the lobby at the same time, but it would be very impressive if Unlimit get out of this unscathed.
Yalari man getting peeked, getting prodded. Pricey looking to pinch. It's interesting to see the POV of Pricey a little bit earlier on one of those games on Olympus. When he went down as the final player alive, just complete frustration being shown by him. He knows how much a couple of points can make the difference when it comes to the final standings at the end of this group stage. 44 seconds until they have to move. Monsoon is down here, but he's got the castle wall down at least. They should be able to drag him back to his feet.
God, this is a brave position to try and hold, but Alliance want to deny it. They know what a threat Sentinels would be here, but are they going to get the chance to, or can Sentinels hold on? Two are now down. And sadly, I think it's about to be the beginning of the end for Sentinels unless one player can escape, which again, one has been able to get out of this corner.
It's Blixer again. I wonder if it was a Valcolt up into the skies, or maybe he just skimmed around the edges of the problems. Unlimit have just been eliminated down on that southern side. They weren't able to survive. Blixer is redefining what it means to survive so far in this game.
Alliance just went up in the overalls into the top 20 now. They also are starting to look towards that top 14. A couple of wins on the board here, and Alliance, you know, maybe they do the unthinkable today at pushing themselves into those final positions. But of course, we're going to have to wait to see what happens in those remaining games. Now it's starting to get interesting down on this southeastern side here.
Kurosame having been eliminated. Sentinels will finally fall. Unlucky sniffs out Blixer with that Mastiff and puts him in the dirt. So Alliance picking up KP and starting to pick up a little bit of form and momentum. A little bit earlier today, we saw them looking much better than they did yesterday. Nemesis up on this high ground. They've got the castle wall down, but they're going to have to take a lot of fire from a lot of teams surrounding them.
It's amazing how some of these teams have been able to find themselves in this kind of position as well. And again, it's down to that baby comp. It's down to the Gibraltar. Now with a Kraber for Skittle Cakes, can they just dominate the high ground here?
Not just the Kraber, unlimited ammo in it as well. So he's going to be able to fire so many rounds, as many as he wants, onto the teams that are surrounding. That's going to make that position on the high ground much easier to fortify. You don't want to peek a team with the Kraber ever. And being able to rattle off shots with that unlimited ammo makes it even more scary for the team surrounding.
Well, interestingly, this building we're looking at now is not going to be in the next zone. We're actually transitioning back towards the Alliance building. So only Alliance and Falcons are within the next zone. So everyone else is going to have to move in together.
Skill Cakes! With that Kraber, Wolves actually try and bubble up onto the height to see if they can get a knock, but Skill Cakes hits a big shot and forces them back down.
Skill Kings actually hit the shot onto VK Gaming, who are down on the southeast. He's just looking at anyone who he might be able to pick a shot off and see if he can disrupt their plan. Because VK holding the south, Shopify Rebellion not too far away from them. 20 seconds until this zone now closes. And even though Nemesis are looking and trying to disrupt a little bit, they have to focus on what's happening at the task at hand of this building.
They do have the gen down, which is going to make survivability a little bit better, but look at the damage being output here by Wolves. Skill Cakes goes for the no-scope. He had no other option. Sacred, you've got to go huge for your team here. Maybe able to get an armor swap to survive a few extra seconds. But 10 squads might become 9 in a few moments' time if Sacred cannot survive.
It's a good opportunity to get extra placement points, though. Even as an individual, we still have 10 squads, but we're probably going to lose 4 or 5 just in this next zone, as there's not much space to play. As now Wolves, they're trying to find that last remaining player, but Sacred looks like he's avoided the gunfire for now, as Wolves step up to try and take the high ground.
Dory will land from that height. So we see how Nemesis initially took this position away on the replay. RRQ on the bottom left of your screen live though. Infinite Ammo L-Star in the hands of Easy Flash, and they're getting pushed here by GK, and they're taking a lot of damage. They are getting absolutely peppered by the defensive bombardment. The Gibby out hurts.
It takes us down to 9, and suddenly this building that everyone was trying to play initially over towards the cannon becomes very enticing, as Falcons also have found a spot to call home. And I thought we were going to lose more, but everyone respecting their neighbors at the moment and knowing if you commit to a fight, you risk potentially throwing things away. Nemesis back up to a 2. They were able to get a res.
Sacred's doing everything he can in this game. Of course, the winners of the previous game, that's going to build some confidence, but Wolves, they want the smoke! Nemesis are eliminated. No Name back to his feet. A pat on the back and a thank you very much. As Falcons now on that south side have to be careful. They've used that bubble and they're being bubbled up on. GK trying to poke. Gil with the R9 does a great job to hold here.
You had to have someone hold aggressively because otherwise they were just going to press up easily. Dory will get eliminated, but it's a brilliant game for them that they very much needed. Alliance are still holding their building, by the way, not allowing anyone to take it off them.
Yeah, Alliance are cooking at the moment. They've got multiple kills already in this game. As Falcons in a little bit of a pinch. Wolves will be eliminated next. QQ gets the final knock onto Went. And that's going to mean the lobby starts to thin out even more here. Back to the high ground. VKG still controlling it. Boy, did they need a game.
Falcons are probably wondering why GK are putting so much pressure onto them, but GK are worried that Falcons are going to wrap and then take their position away, so that's why they're applying said pressure. Shopify Rebellions now start to move up a little bit as well, closer towards the Alliance territory they've been claiming for so long.
The Shopify spot is going to be safest for longest. GK, by the way, they've hit a Valcold. And now Shopify's position might not be one of the best in zone. The lay of the land is known by GK. They know where everybody on the map is, and they are playing the side of zone where nobody finds themselves.
Falcons still aware of them, though, and their focus very much is on GK right now. Kinnetrope Club are the one team that could really affect how that entire southern fight goes down if they try to drop a little bit earlier than maybe intended.
They'll queue up on this high ground, R9 in the hands, trying to find a little bit of damage onto the Valcolt down from the low ground. It's Shopify Rebellion who choose to take to the skies this time. Falcons still playing that corner. But what is the next play for them? Option to bubble out as Alliance start to peek the other side of the cannon where Kinnetrope find themselves.
Zone is going to end on the lower ground as well. It's going to pull away from the cannon, so both Shopify and GK, they are close.
BKG taking damage. Hackis finds one with the Mastiff. Waltzy's having to drag Falcons members back to their feet on this low ground as Unlucky continues his warpath in this game. He's got 6 kills already in this game. Unlucky taking the game on his back. It's 7 as Alliance continue to wipe in these bubble fights.
A question was asked of Alliance yesterday, and today it is being answered. They're into the top 4. It's about to be the top 3. Can they go all the way?
Kinnetrope gone, 3 squads remaining. Alliance damaging GK down on this low ground. They've got a huge advantage here. Even with both bubbles down, Falcons will fall. Unlucky will peak. Unlucky will poke. And Alliance will be your champions.
Alliance put themselves up into the top 8 of the overalls with that win. They were on the brink of elimination coming into today, but now, just as we expected, when you start to count them out, they rise once more. And they look like the Alliance of old. They've got through the worries and the troubles of those first 2 days. And if they keep this rolling, they may just secure their spot in match point finals.
Long live Alliance. Never count them out. These boys thrive on pressure when their backs are against the wall. We've seen it through the years. They come up with something special. Today they've come to play, and they're making you eat your words.
They are indeed, and boy am I happy to. They taste great. Such a well-played game from Alliance. They had that building for so long, and it was how they denied anyone trying to take it away from them. And the Alliance fans quite rightly delighted, and I'm sure relieved with the performance we've seen so far today. And like I said, they still have 2 more matches here on set. They still have a chance to solidify themselves in the top half of this leaderboard and give themselves such an incredible opportunity of getting into those match point finals.
Something that was very interesting for me in that game as well was the choice of weaponry from Alliance as well with the Baby Comp. The fact that they've got the Gibraltar and they are running double Mastiff. With that new hop-up as well, it just allows you, if you get those kills, if you get those knocks, to continually be involved in that fight. Unlucky was doing a fantastic job with it. Hackis was doing a great job with that Mastiff in hand. And you're starting to see what paying attention to those patch notes can do for a pro player.
Oh.
It's also the alliance we saw in scrims, and it's about time they showed us to land here. You heard it from Hackers yesterday. It was a deflated interview from Hackers last night. But he said, look, I don't really understand what's going wrong. We were playing so well leading up to this tournament. Everything was prepped correctly. But sometimes you just need to have one of those days where you need to kick up the backside and Alliance back on top here.
I was about to say, you took the words right out of my mouth. Sometimes you just go, it's just one of those days.
Yep.
There's nothing I can really put my finger on as to why things aren't going well, but who cares about yesterday when you come into today with this kind of a fire and this kind of a crowd behind you as well, giving the Alliance boys the support that they so deserve. Pressure off the shoulders now for Alliance. Now it's about looking upwards instead of down.
It puts them 14 points ahead from the cutoff of match point finals at the moment, which is quite significant, especially with 2 more
21
matches
KP, by the way.
remaining. That is close to being record-breaking, not quite, but that is the kind of game we've seen from these players. 33 points is an insane total. GK with 11, Falcons with 10. It's also an important game for Falcons. The analysts were saying they'd had a quiet series so far, but now they also start to put points on the board, which keeps them in the top 10 at the moment for those overall standings as well.
I think the Alliance scriptwriters maybe would like something, or the Alliance fans would like the scriptwriters to do something slightly different, because it's like every time, isn't it? It's like, oh God, we're Alliance, what is going on? And then just when they need to, they pull a performance and a game like that out of the bag, and all of a sudden everything seems good. The way they controlled the space around this building though, Dan, very, very impressive. I love the fact that they were able to bubble down on some of the teams that were below them, looking to play some of those corners and use those Mastiffs at their full potential, just chunking away, not letting anyone feel comfortable.
It's just fighting with confidence. I think that game, they developed more confidence the longer it went on. They were locking down their building. Every single time they were winning an engagement, they were happy to take the next because they knew how well they were fighting. They knew they had the tools to do so. They weren't missing, which is usually the key factor for winning a fight as well. And such an incredible and exciting final circle to watch. Even though sometimes it can be difficult to keep up with Gibby and Newcastle and the Shields, Alliance knew exactly how they wanted to play that one out.
That's relief. That is the very definition of relief from Unlucky. And now it's just amazing how quickly the bad memories of yesterday will disappear. Alliance are back, everybody. We were waiting for them to arrive under the bright lights, and they certainly have announced that they are here to play now.
What a roller coaster of a tournament it's been so far for some of these teams as well. Some of our biggest heavy hitters down and struggling in the first couple of days, but then they start to find their form a little bit, as they always seem to do. And when you look at that screen, there are legends of the game all appearing in the top 3 of match 4 now. But it's really the difference of how many kills Alliance just found. They farmed the entire lobby, it feels.
Really did. Yeah, 21 kills is quite something. That's a match that there's going to be a lot of analysis for when we go back, and I'm sure the VOD reviews will be superb after the event is done and dusted. For now though, before we get into Game 4, we're going to take a quick break here. We'll be back. It's actually Game 5, Dan, because we just had Game 4, but don't go too far. We'll be back with Game 5.
This ain't no regular thing. Came for the ring, you know what I mean. You see my name in the lights. Better get right, I'm champion.
Welcome back to Paris, everybody. Welcome back to day 3 here at the Apex Legends Global Series Split 1 playoffs at Esports World Cup 2026. And if you're just joining us, you just missed one of the highlight games of the entire tournament so far. Alliance back in form with 21 kills alongside a big win on Stormpoint.
Like you said, I eat my words. I was talking a lot about how Aku and how he's been performing on this team, not having Effect. Will we see Alliance reach the same kind of numbers they do when Effect was on that team? Well, there is their answer. And as I mentioned, I am happy to eat my words. A lot of calories involved.
Yeah, certainly A full meal, as one of my good friends would say. So I will say the crowd is certainly getting involved as these games are going on. You can just feel all of a sudden when the pressure starts to increase, we get closer and closer to sending some teams home, sending teams to finals, and of course setting us up for the survival stage tomorrow, which is going to be a whole new thing on its own. Everybody starts to just give their energy to the players a little bit more. Looking at the bans though and where we are going to be in this particular series now, we're going to see Valkyrie out of the equation now, so no Valcolts available for our teams.
Which happened last time we had Storm Point as well on match 4. Valkyrie got ripped away from us, and it's to be expected. Just adds so much on Storm Point, especially with the elevation and the changes, but it really changes the dynamic now going into match 5. A lot of the early rotations are going to be so important now, reading that zone and getting into a position and holding just like Alliance did. But look at those stats from Unlucky, stepping up when they needed him most.
Yeah, 4.5k damage. That is pretty darn good. Let me tell you that. That's pretty rare that you do that on the big stage. 11 kills, saw 13 knockdowns as well. So get involved in all of the scuffles surrounding that building that Alliance got to quickly and making the most of it. But now that's history. We head in towards match number 5 here between Group B and C. And just a reminder, top 14, when the group stage is done, will go directly to our match point finals. But if you are in that bottom 6, unfortunately, you're eliminated from the tournament.
And that key will get crushed as well. We will definitely be seeing some keys getting crushed after today's competition, but we might have one team potentially eliminated after these groups play each other. Dory are still in the bottom 6 at the moment, but they did give themselves a chance after that game. They are currently 7 points now off, it would seem. No, wow, it's a little bit more than that. It is 15 points they are away from the elimination position, so they still need to keep going here into 5 and 6.
I'm sure they're keeping their eyes on that points tally as well, seeing and knowing what they have to do in these final 2 games to save their tournament, where it looks like the players are moving. They're out the drop ships. We're heading back into Storm Point here. Match number 5 is live.
Locked and loaded, and where are we going to be heading? Because as we were mentioning, you have to move pretty fast here if you're a zone team. You don't have that fallback of a Valkyrie ultimate now. The Skyward Dive is not going to save your bacon, and that means composition-wise, we change everything. We're starting to see various different ways of movement.
Well, the first topic of conversation is always, how are you doing, Dan? You good?
Really good, actually. Yeah, a bit hot.
After that one, it's always, where's the zone going? And we are heading up towards a team of Falcons by the looks of things. Elrod, Stormcatcher certainly involved, but historically we do usually see the pull up to the north. Falcons just checking if they've got a ring console. Yes, they do indeed. So good news for Team Falcons fans.
And this is a really good opportunity for Falcons to put points on the board and solidify their spot at the moment in those match point finals positions. Because even though they have been relatively quiet, they are still 6th in the overalls, which is nothing to be sniffed at, that's for sure. Other teams that are going to be close and be able to move fast, and teams that need points, Ninjas in Pajamas, of course. Even though they are in a better position than they were, we haven't seen them have that pop-off game like Alliance have had just yet. So they still find themselves in 21st, only 25 points ahead of that cutoff, which sounds like a lot, but you've got to remember there are still 6 matches to be played from other teams, so you do want to increase that a little bit.
Well, this is Dory. This is the team who really do have the most on the line in the last 2 games. You mentioned, when we look at the standings, they are currently inside of that bottom 6. Now, they need to be outside of that bottom 6 come the end of these games to even have a chance at surviving in this tournament. Of course, we have the other groups to play a little bit later on today, so they will have to watch and hope from the sidelines, but you got to put it in your own hands. Big games from Dory gives themselves a lifeline.
And that's the thing, you can get out of that bottom 6 and be 1 point ahead, but then all it takes is 2 of those teams in the bottom 6 getting 2 points, which is very easy to achieve. So you have to try and put yourself with as much distance as possible. And the first game that we've just seen from them in match 4 since we've been casting, they looked pretty good. They had an incredible fight against Elite. They need more of that, more of the same.
The Ninjas in Pajamas have made their move, as have Wolves Esports. They came all the way from Zeus Station, which I say all the way, not particularly far. A hop, skip, and a jump when we talk about POIs being close to each other, and they're going to play the rock formation with their backs clear. Now, the good news for these teams who are here early is they won't have to look to the skies in this game. We mentioned the Valkyrie ban means that it's a more linear game for them. The skies will be empty unless there's a few evac towers coming a little bit later on. But for Wolves, this is going to be a really, really good spot that they should be able to last quite some time in this game.
There's going to be a few very difficult rotations for teams as well with the choke points that are going to be available. So if you can hold some of the areas, whether it be on that far eastern side or of course the middle route from Stormcatcher to Lightning Rod, there's a real opportunity of picking up KP as well. Not necessarily game-winning positions, but certainly ones where you might be able to find points.
Well, VKG in a really good spot as well. They're holding the building which has the survey beacon on in Lightning Rod. On Limit, they've got a little bit more of a difficult way to go. There's the... They need to release a Yulari Man alternator skin. I'm just going to say that. He, for me, when you talk about like players historically, when I think of weapons, HAL R99, for example, Kraber, Zero, Yulari Man, alternator. Release the skin.
Or else.
I have no leverage, by the way.
No,
absolutely zero.
Probably more than me.
In fact, it's probably further away than it's ever been after I've just mentioned it.
But all of these teams starting to descend onto Lightning Rod now. A heavy commitment to this northeastern POI. There are going to be some teams that are going to be north of Lightning Rod that are going to go for a little bit of a late rotation, one of those being Alliance. And I'm wondering whether anyone tries to position themselves in the kind of tunnels on the western side of Lightning Rod as well. If you can set up shop there, again, it's another one of those choke points. You might just be able to find some KP.
Still thinking of weapons. I was going to say Monsoon,
Sentinel.
Peacekeeper or Sentinel. And of course our good friend Jumba, Mastiff.
What Jumba did on that day.
Hey, let's not talk about that. Let's not give him any more love than he needs. Mishy Jumba. Well, Team Heretics, they're a long way away from zone at the moment. They're over at Pylon, hitting Ring Console and Survey Beacon. They've also got Evo Harvester just to their north. So it seems like the path to purple is what they're on right now. We do have an interesting composition here. Pathfinder is going to be their rotational character here with that zip line. Gibraltar and Newcastle, of course, for a little bit more stability when they do get to the spot that they want to play.
I think Shopify Rebellion might have heard Team Heretics here as well. They're certainly moving towards them at quite some pace. They also might be trying to hit information as well and Evo. But I think we're about to see a clash between Shopify Rebellion and Heretics. Yeah, they finally got eyes on them. And I'm assuming Shopify Rebellion still IGL by Zainu, even with Phony come in, who typically is an IGL himself.
That'd be brash.
It would
Phony. I'll play if I can IGL.
Well, it's quite funny because he did used to IGL Zainu. And there's a lot of history, let's put it that way, between these players. But I'm sure they'll be extremely thankful that Phony has come in. And look, we even had a player picture ready for him. It's like he did Media Day for another team. He's just been passed around here.
Passed around.
Does he want to cast?
Love to have him in the booth.
I actually would.
Good news for everyone as well. Saw Koi will tweet a little bit earlier saying he's feeling much better. So
that is great news.
We will see him back for the rest of the tournament. I'm sure Shopify would love him back. We certainly would love to see him competing once more. This is where the zone is going. You can see it's going to be an interesting one. I wonder if Shopify were moving towards Pylon for the next bit of information. Great zone read coming in from Team Falcons, though, I will say, and Wolves Esports. Off the back of that first Ring Console that they got, the second zone, they are in prime position now to be involved in this end game. And this is another one. It's a really, really tough zone. You've got to see a lot of teams kind of build up around where Reject, Sentinels, Alliance are flying into right now, because it's the only real building playable space. Everywhere else is just open ground and rock formations. Falcon's job is to hold off the likes of Alliance, who are going to land here in one of those rock formations, because they will be able to peek down onto them. But that's just great game knowledge coming in from Hackers. What spots are playable and what spots aren't? Be careful here, Unlucky. That bubble's going to be up for long enough to get him to pop the battery before he gets that castle wall down.
And look at this composition that Alliance are running as well, by the way. So they don't have that same information that everyone does from Ring Console, Survey Beacons, etc. So instead, they've just brute forced it.
Asia. Oh, that Prowler! That made things interesting. Dexter now left on his own, though. Unlimit still with 2 on their feet, and Team Heretics are coming in to try and look at this one. The Fuse using that knuckle cluster to get a little bit further than he used to be able to back in the day, to escape some of the danger incoming. Team Heretics with the perfect third-party opportunity.
Two teams are in pretty similar positions in those overall standings as well. Heretics down in 28, Gen G in 26. Both somewhat vulnerable to elimination, I would say, in their current points total. So you want to be adding a little bit more and accumulating some of those points so that you can get further away from said elimination spots and make it a little bit more difficult for the chasing pack. Because even though we assume the bigger teams are going to be getting the points and those in the bottom 6 will be getting less, there's always that what if. Suddenly those teams in the bottom 6, all of them start to perform and find wins.
Well, Peace is alive.
And he says, peace.
I was going to say, he's certainly not thriving at this point, but being on Fuse makes it a little bit more fun to be playing on your own, I will say. Does have the option of the Crafter next to him, but it looks like Gen G are trying to think something similar. I think Unlimit and the Peace are deciding that maybe this Crafter is looking a bit busier than I wanted it to, so they are scarpering away out of there, trying to just survive.
And luckily for Gen G, Heretics' attention on Limit, as Gen G, I think, were able to hit said Crafter. So perhaps we'll see them back into the map. As now all these teams that have been able to find their way over closer towards Lightning Rod are now starting to realize that they're not going to be alone. It's going to be an unnervy time going into the next zone. Heretics are going to head back down south.
I wonder if they're just hitting a survey beacon.
So it has to be a survey beacon.
You can see the Flat have just lost 2 by the looks of things down in that spider cave. And in fact, they're up on the high ground. The last player alive is taken down. Flat are eliminated, and Nemesis, who are 3rd in this group at the moment, after that win that we saw a little bit earlier on Olympus, pick up a couple of easy KP here.
Another team that's currently in the top 6 as well in the overall standings. Nemesis looking good for match point finals as it stands. But in this game, I feel like they need an evac tower to probably reposition, because if they try and brute force it through Lightning Rod, not necessarily going to go well.
Yeah, the only real option is the zip line, but that's going to be risky with the amount of teams that are going to be in front of them, and where do you go to is the real question. We can see on our map overhead, very, very busy, as you would expect, in and around that zone. RRQ playing underneath the cannon here. Just to the south of Elrod here.
Huh?
Sentinels bubbling up to get a little bit of loot here. It's going to be a little bit quiet here, as everybody outside of Gen G and Unlimit, by the way, who both have respawned and got back to a full 3, are inside of the zone. Heretics are going to have a mythic bin just pop up as well, just to keep you abreast of everything that is going down. But with that zone pool, now everyone is going to know where they have to go. And all of a sudden, everyone was in zone. And as you can see on the map overhead, not a lot of people are.
And you mentioned Falcons and Wolves. They called this one early. NIP have done very well with their position, and Alliance on their late arrival. They would have liked where Falcons were. I think we had this similar read from Hackis that Hal had, but then he saw it was already taken. But the benefit of being where Alliance are over Falcons is the potential for KP, similarly to what Alliance had done in the previous. A lot of people are going to try and take that position away from them. But this is the unfortunate side of the zone at the moment, this western side. No one is really going to enjoy this route through. I think Gen G have been able to get out of the eyesight of Heretics here.
This is the 3-team dance that's been going on, kind of a mini game. Team Heretics, Gen G, and Unlimit, and they're still all very close to each other at the moment. Team Heretics still have a long way to go. I think they've just given up on trying to hold out Gen G because of the time that they've got left on this zone. Speaking of time, it looks like Shopify Rebellion, they've got to buy some because Elite Esports are pushing onto them, and Elite Esports are getting some good damage. It's actually going to be Team Heretics from Distant here who get one of those knocks. Light answers back himself. Zap and Phony are both down. Only one player alive here for Shopify Rebellion, and Elite do a fantastic job of cleaning them up. Reject have just been eliminated in the meantime. Here come Team Heretics. They're trying to push on this, but look how healthy Elite are.
Elite are primed and ready, and actually Heretics decide better onto this one. But all in that meantime, Gen G have actually been able to get past Heretics, and now NIP are transitioning south to deny the move from Gen G, which Gen G are now going to get pinched between Heretics, and I take it back. Heretics have gone back and forth again and said, no, we don't fancy that fight either.
Well, Gen G aren't safe. They have to move to this next building, and Dexter's going to get the bang smokes down to try and make that cross a little bit more comfortable. Ninjas in Pajamas have retreated back up to the height and the high ground overlooking this. Elite Esports just kind of had a little poke, but Gen G are safe. Gen G have actually pulled off a little bit of a madness here by getting somewhere safe.
Well, it's because NIP didn't want to give up their genuine position. They were just kind of trying to apply a little bit of pressure and presence. But they had to focus on the bigger task at hand that was the final circle, which they already had a spot in. It's now Shopify Rebellion having to use this bubble just to stay alive right now.
GK Esports have been eliminated, one of the teams inside of our top 3 in the last game. Not many points for them in this game. They were trapped over at the north side of Lightning Rod and did not manage to escape. Shopify Rebellion looking to move up now. Nice spray coming in from Zap. But the reset now coming as well, and all of a sudden, Team Heretics are making this one interesting. Great shots coming in from Kurtz. Phony having to reload that RE45. Well, that thing is naked in Yuns. He's got himself an L-Star in his hand. Unlimited eliminated in the meantime off screen.
Genji are coming back, by the way. They can hear all this commotion and they are smelling blood. They know they have an opportunity to pick up some KP. And you've got 4 teams in the same area. Shopify Rebellion and Genji, the ones that are pincering this, excuse me.
Elite Esports are the first team to fall in this kerfuffle that's happening on this side of zone. Kurosame Havoc, they'll fall elsewhere. And Team Heretics survivability, by the way, very, very impressive through all of this, using the Gibby bubble, using the Newcastle just to survive, but they have to take the zipline now to try and get somewhere near this zone.
Interestingly, elsewhere, with Genji giving up that position, it's allowed NIP to apply more pressure onto them as well. So probably another engagement that could be happening down between those two teams. As with the zone shift, it does move away from the likes of Falcons and Wolves, and actually Team Nemesis have now found themselves in prime position as Team Heretics on this survival run have been able to find themselves just underneath Stormcatcher here.
Well, Jans still looking to use that L-Star. That bubble's not going to last too long, but the castle wall will slow things down. And that's Dory, the team who really are on the struggle bus when it comes to points. And when it comes to this fight as well, we can dance, but only one of us is going to be able to tango here. Jans left on his own, waiting for the rest to come in. He will fall. Team Heretics are down, and Dory survive here.
The power of Newcastle once more demonstrated right in front of our very eyes. 12 squads now remain. As again, it's about just making sure you get back up and get as healthy as possible. Every point matters here for Dory.
First Pro just been eliminated in the meantime. Dory hit the zip line. Newcastle is still up, which means that Kazu King can at least drag teammates back to their feet, but he's taking damage from the nades. Dory, get the bubble down at just the right time, but here comes Zainu. Here comes Shopify, and Dory's game is over. 9 squads remain. Zainu, it cost him his life, and it might cost Shopify as well.
Well, Shopify were just looking for some KP here, because they knew it was probably going to be pretty dismal from this point onwards anyway. They finish in 9th place and do get some extra points on the board. RRQ also in that feed onto Shopify Rebellion. Is now Wolves maybe looking to try and push up onto this one as VKG will be eliminated.
VKG are gone. Wolves still alive, who are here early, remember. Those shots coming down from the skies are hurting, and it's Sentinels who are now sending it onto RRQ. Sentinels with the wipe. And they barely took a tick of damage in doing so.
Oh, Alliance are going to push onto Sentinels though. They've sensed that they maybe have to move away from their spot. And they are going to have a high ground. They're just waiting for this bubble to dissipate.
Here's the Mastiff again. Here's Unlucky again. But he's down. Alliance are down. The armor diff too much. And Sentinels and Monsoon say, I've got a Mastiff of my own.
One more bubble comes out. Falcons now are going to be the next to take a look at this one. But can Sentinels hold on again? It's a difficult fight to take, but Falcons, they are not shielded very well.
Well, they have the castle wall to fall behind their Sentinels. That's why Falcons didn't want to push that. They knew that they would have had a disadvantage in that fight. Not only with the armors, like you quite rightly highlight, but also pushing over the top of that wall. Now the move comes in from Ninjas in Pajamas. Wolves are having a little scrap with Team Nemesis at the moment, who are center zone. And Nemesis are down to just Skittle Cakes.
So it now means that Sentinels and Falcons are outsiders as this zone closes in. And Wolves, Nemesis, NIP are all going to be watching these two teams arrive, but Nemesis, of course, down to just 1 now.
Well, nobody's looking at Skittle Cakes. The Wraith Portal is down here for Sentinels to try and find somewhere to play. Wolves will be safe on this edge of zone behind the Newcastle wall as well, so they are set up beautifully here.
Sentinels get a knock onto NIP. They are sending it onto Ninjas in Pajamas, and at the moment they are winning. Monsoon gets the second, NIP out.
The momentum seems to be with Sentinels in these close-range fights. Wolves still looking at all of the carnage going down in front of them. And somehow Skittlecakes is still alive. But for how long? He's trying to send it towards Falcons' position here. This might be the end of their game, and indeed, it will be Team Nemesis eliminated. 3 squads remain in our final battle here on Storm Point.
Worth noting, only the one Gibraltar left here in the lobby, and that is Sentinels. They're going to be running Gibby, Watson, and Wraith, whereas Wolves have got the Newcastle, as do Falcons, but Falcons also have a Pathfinder, which allows the zip.
Here comes Sentinels, though. The damage is done to Hal, and the armor not looking too healthy for them. Falcons will find one. It's a trade. Blinkster slides behind with the R9 to find another. Hal's trying to grapple away. Wolves moving up onto the high ground. Pieces of both teams in front of them, but can they collect them and collect the win?
Yeah, Fun's trying to bounce off. He's trying to get away, see if he can reset a little bit. As Hal is unable to do so, Falcons go down. And Wolves Esports, now it's just a simple 3v1.
Blinkster, you don't get to take me down because I'm in the void, and even though you hit the evac, Wolves will be your champions.
And a lot of Wolves fans here in Paris who celebrate, to be honest, alongside Sentinels fans, because it's still a huge game for Sentinels. But that win, for me, it should be enough for Wolves to kind of get rid of any worries of elimination here in this stage. It puts them up to 90 points, which should be more than enough to not be down in that bottom 6 as they can start to look forward now. Maybe another win in match 6. There could be a match point finals possibility on the cards. As for Sentinels, they jump up into the top 8 now in those overalls.
The world champs looking like they're hitting form at just the right time. A couple of those bubble fights looking pretty saucy.
Monsoon says just one more game. And to be fair, if Sentinels can put a similar performance up, minimum 12 points, their match point finals chances are looking pretty good. As for some of our other champions, of course, we have our world champions in Sentinels, but we have our reigning EWC champions in the lobby as well in VK Gaming. They're in 16th place right now, so they are on the cusp of those top 14 positions.
Big game from VKG might solidify a straight slingshot into that match point finals, but it would have to be quite some game. I'm going to give a bit of credit as well to the zone call actually coming in from Falcons early off that zone 2 off the ring console, just immediately move into that building. Really, really good for them. And that pretty much guaranteed them a top 5. The armor difference in the end, I think, is a little bit of what made that final fight difficult for them. The Sentinels. This is where Monsoon thrives. This is where Blinkster and Fun thrive. Bubble fights, close range, shotguns in hand. We know historically what they've been able to do.
I just really like the fact that Sentinels had the Gibby still to work with. We saw how important Gibraltar was in so many of those engagements. And actually the leftover Newcastle wall helped out Sentinels at one point as well, but in the end it was Wolves who capitalized on the engagement that happened between Sen and Falcons. And even though Sen did not win that game, you can still see they celebrate because they know how big those points are going to be for their chances of match point finals.
Yeah, if Blinkster won that, we would not stop speaking about it. He even went for the armor swap, and unfortunately, it looked like that box was empty. Came up a little bit empty-handed on that one, but like you say, quite rightly, I think everybody who's a Sentinels fan will know how important that match was, and from where they had to rotate center of Jurassic to where they got to, with those amount of KP, you'll take that every single day.
And as we look at the other end of the leaderboard, Dory are still in the danger zone at the moment. If Dory do not find a minimum of 7 points going into this next match, they will be eliminated right here, right now in match 6. But other teams who are outside of the elimination phase, who are still struggling, Kirasami Havoc, Team Heretics, Gen G, those 3 also very much in danger as we look at the match results and the points that were accumulated here. Sentinels arguably did win that game.
Yeah, when you look at points total, 14 KP alongside the 9 for the second place means 23 points in total. Team Falcons, just the 3 KP, but the placement points from that early zone call were enough to see them taking down a good amount of points from that one. But for now, before we get into match number 6, I want to catch up with my good friends because we've got Graceful down on the main stage with Rain Day. What's up, boys?
I appreciate it, man. We're bringing the green room on stage. Graceful, a chance for me and you to kind of wax poetic on what's been going on here over the last few games. I started off with Snipe after game 2 talking about, well, these 3 teams are important: Elite Esports, Alliance, and NIP. Well, now the narrative has changed for the reasons I think that Alliance fans will be very happy, but also the same for Elite Esports, who continue their dominance. Talk about what you've seen so far from those 2.
I mean, Elite, we've said the same thing over and over again. They're still staying consistent across the board. They're still dominating. They're almost doubled everybody's point in this tournament so far. But I think everybody's absolutely accelerated. Me as well. I just want to go up right now and hug my friend. You know, they pretty much made it through to the next round. Alliance, I'm so proud of you. As well, I would like to give a big shout out to Nemesis as well.
Yes.
NIP. We saw Wolves now as well take it home.
Yeah.
Everybody's just absolutely popping off. But one thing in mind though, these are all experienced teams.
Yes, that's true. And how does experience factor now? You've done something well. You would assume it's only up from here, right? They've made their mistakes early. Now, who's going to stop a team like Alliance, who has found their rhythm?
I mean, they might have found a rhythm right now in this lobby currently. It should keep the ball rolling because, like we said, sometimes you just need that snowball to start and that motivation, that's something to just help you push forward.
Yeah.
And that will naturally loosen you up and you start playing, you know, your normal game. However, the lobby also changes up because 14 teams move on and you're fighting the remainder essentially. And I mean, we'll have to see if they can keep that form up.
Yeah, this final game is super important. NIP, another team that was kind of in that zone of falling out of it and having another set to be played later this afternoon. So they didn't want to wait and watch. Have they done enough for you so far to feel comfortable?
For now, yes,
Okay.
but this is not looking like a top 5 right now. We need a little bit more oomph out of them.
And you mentioned Wolves obviously taking that last one. It was, again, another APAC conversation after game 2. They've done a great job of getting into final circles. They couldn't close out game 2, but this final game, really good from that team as a 3. Obviously, Sentinels had some good team fighting moments as well. What have you seen from Wolves, and are we not talking about them enough as a contender to potentially win this tournament?
I mean, I would say we talked quite a lot about them going into this tournament, hyping them up from the region, coming out so strong, and then they kind of just fell short. But I would like to say the difference between them now and the previous days, they're being proactive.
Yeah.
You saw in that last game, they're taking the fights to teams now
Yes.
instead of letting the game play them out. Instead of just watching the game fly by and you're like, hey, the zone is moving here, I guess we just follow. They're looking for opportunities. They're pushing teams. They're taking fights and they're winning them. So they know they can do this and they need to keep this up.
The best players in a sport, after 50 minutes go by in a 90-minute match, the World Cup on tonight, you get an understanding of what's going wrong, what's going right, and then you make adjustments. In a series like this, when you're an experienced team, what do those adjustments look like? After 3 or 4, you go, okay, here's how it's going. What does that look like being in these shoes at LAN in these moments? How would you handle that, and how are these teams handling that now going into the final game?
I mean, honestly, it really depends on what your team is playing for. If you're just playing to not get relegated, you're terrified because teams that are safe are already looking to just int you. So you have to make sure that you're keeping track of teams and having that awareness. This is why when we scrim a lot, we keep track of other teams' macros, so that you can also keep track of the leaderboard. I saw right now while we walked up, everybody's counting all of these points because they know, okay, if we rotate north, all of those teams are safe, we gotta avoid them. They're gonna absolutely ape us if they see the opportunity. Whereas like, okay, these guys are actually on the bottom side, maybe we do an edge rotate this time and we fight the other teams that are scared because we're more confident than they are. And it just comes to a scrap for it's the bottom feeders fighting for the scraps essentially.
For the scraps, man.
Yeah.
Elite Esports and now Alliance have taken up so many of the points. We'll see how this Game 6 turns out. Still fighting for a chance, not only in the survival stage, but to stay at EWC, because 6 teams after this might just be going home. Let's send it back to the casters to keep telling the tale.
Thank you, gentlemen. Great little bit of insight there, and you can see how the brain of Graceful works, which is at times terrifying, at times brilliant, Dan. But it's great to see what he's talking about there was some of the teams who are on that scary side of the points totals, probably thinking about their rotates a little bit differently.
Of course, as a previous pro player himself, he lives and breathes it. He knows exactly what it's like for some of these guys on the main stage. But now it comes down to crunch time. It's going to be match 6. It is do or die for some of these teams, one in particular. And then it's going to be a lot of nails being bitten as they watch the other 2 groups being played out here. Are you going to qualify for match point finals? Will you be heading into the survival stage, or will you be in one of those dreaded bottom 6 positions where your key gets crushed and you go home?
Well, if you're watching right now and you're a bit of a neutral, you're just enjoying the Apex Legends and you're looking for a team to root for, become a Dory fan is all I'm going to say, because they're the only team right now who are sat in that bottom 6 and at the end of this game, unfortunately, may have their tournament ending. So if you've got a little bit of extra energy, you're looking for a team to support, I want to hear some Dory love coming from the crowd.
Yeah, because it would be a shame, wouldn't it, after these matches to send one team home already without actually seeing everyone play and the whole points total being put together. That being said, we do have to send 6 teams home, so it is inevitable. It is going to happen. As match 6, it's locked, it's loaded, it's Storm Point for one last ride.
Here we go then. The last time the groups B and C will play. The last match here on Storm Point and the last opportunity to solidify if it's finals, if it's elimination, or if you're moving on to the survival stage tomorrow.
Which, by the way, when we tell you the format of the survival stage, the amount of games that they have to play, it is going to be a long one for these players competing when they're in that survival stage. We'll get to that a little bit later, though, because now we're going to focus on the task at hand. It's about trying to survive. As the ring console is popped and the zone is revealed, we're going to be heading west. Now, interestingly, you might remember before Game 4, I said the Mill, one of the worst performing POIs, if not the worst performing POI on Storm Point so far this tournament. Here's a chance to change those numbers.
Yeah, let's change the numbers a little bit, RRQ. You've got the ring console as well. The zone is going your way. It's looking like potentially a bean zone as well. So where it pulls, we'll have to wait and see. Maybe a little third beacon will be very, very handy for some of these teams. But as far as where the zone is going, teams who have got to make their way a long way, Team Falcons, GK, Wolves, all on that northeastern side. They've got a long way to go. Dory over at Echo HQ, and you have to forgive me for not being maybe as impartial as I should here, Dan. I don't want to see Dory going home. I don't want to see him going home right now.
Not yet, anyway. I mean, if they get 1 point away and they get eliminated later, so be it. But I don't want to
be the Dory pop-off.
Right, exactly. I want to see them have the chance to at least watch and think they have the possibility of going through, even if it's unlikely. As all the teams now are starting to move west. Also want to bring up the fact that, by the way, Elite might have been cursed by me. They were dominating this group. They were looking like they were going to win all 3 of their group stage matches, and now they find themselves down in 3rd. But they do still have this last chance to make history and go unbeaten and win every single group stage that they are presented with. They are 6 points behind Alliance right now.
Unlimit and Gen G are very, very close to each other at Barometer, and Unlimit are doing Unlimit things, which is running at them. Now, I could argue that Gen G are doing Gen G things by also looking to run at them. Either way, someone's going to run at someone.
Someone has to die. The real question is, does someone run away during that fight? Because often that call is made. And it's an important fight as well, because the winner of this fight has the free rotation on the southern side through Cenote. And they can potentially take that western route.
Come on, Limit. Why are you running?
Well,
that was almost a guarantee when you see
scary thing is, they are running towards ninjas in pajamas because there's an Evo harvester in the area. I think a lot of these teams have been taking a look at, not to mention the survey beacon, which is where Unlimit are heading towards. So Unlimit go up towards the survey beacon, NIP get their Evo harvester, and they say that's their side quest completed, as Team Falcons taking a lot of bullets in the backside.
I mean, GK, who are behind them at the moment, they're trying to go to Zeus, maybe to hit that balloon, move towards the Evo harvester to spawn, and you can see they haven't managed to hit one to get up to blue. They're just going to have to take a few more seconds to do so, to find their way maybe towards Stormcatcher, Survey Beacon. That's where another Evo Harvester is. And it gives me an opportunity to say, by the way, that Guild, in my personal opinion, I think I might have said this on broadcast before, is the funniest person in the Apex Legends Global Series.
I can confirm that is the second time.
He is the funniest person in the Apex Legends Global Series. Best one-liners, without a doubt.
It's the second time you've said it this tournament.
I will say it more.
It's the third time you said it this split.
Yeah.
And not that I've been tracking.
I will take any opportunity. He's my favorite character.
I can confirm Onset does regularly send me stream clips of the funny things that he says.
Best one-liners.
Often,
whether he means them to be funny or not.
Hal, to be honest.
I'm a big Guild guy. What can I say?
Those spiders are loud, aren't they? As Wolves now are going to...
So you jump a little bit there.
Move through. I had to turn my headset down. But it's interesting to see the positions that are currently being taken up, because no one really knows where this zone's going to finish, by the way. There is the potential that it shifts one way or another. I know that sounds like a stupid thing to say, but some of these zones are a little bit easier to read where it's guaranteed to pull all that way in. Some are banking on it pulling back towards Sito Station a little bit here.
Whatever way you look at this zone, it's another one that doesn't have a huge amount of naturally playable space. The fact that Gibraltar has been banned in match 5 as well makes it even more difficult for our teams to try and hold down a spot. A lot of them are going to try and get their backs to a rock and get that castle wall down a little bit later on, and then get the gen down behind it in the Watson. We are seeing a lot of Watson and Newcastle in the compositions, which the synergy is very good between those two legends. Getting to the spot is going to be another thing. Pathfinder we see in a fair bit of, a little bit of Rampart in the lobby as well. A little bit of Fuse as well. Sparrow, there's a sprinkling of a few different things actually. Axel's in a couple of compositions. Bangalore. I'm just going to list every legend in the game.
Even some altars as well, which, you know, we have so much altar when we're on E-District, but it is funny how that dynamic changes when you move over to Storm Point. It's going to be Flat and GK running the altar as well, so they'll have that portal opportunity. But a lot of teams, again, showing their respect to one another on their rotation, avoiding gunfights at the moment. As we still have 20 teams left, as Zone 1 is about to complete. It's closed, and we will get to see actually a little bit more information on Zone 3 and where we're going to be heading. Alliance might be sending it onto Flat. They've certainly been able to bully their way into Zone at the moment, but they are aware of Flat's presence.
There's a few too many footsteps for both teams to enjoy. Nano's just going to back up a little bit closer to Cusio and Big Louis. As we wait with bated breath to see where that next zone is going to be going. Are we hard pulling into Mill? Is it going to be down on that low ground where RRQ have actually moved to one of those eggshell buildings? Or are we going to go a little bit more into the open? Here we go. Well, we are going to RRQ by the looks of things. VP up on the God Rock in a fantastic position as well.
So RRQ, who had priority to zone, they were dropping at Mill. They had the first position they could choose from. Potentially have been rewarded here. Now, for those who weren't able to get as far west, suddenly this becomes a little bit more tricky of how you approach. You'd like to think maybe you have an evac tower as a backup. To highlight, though, our team that is down in the danger zone, Dory. They are on a long old rotation down from Echo into Coastal. They are hitting as much information as they can, or perhaps, Mark, they're trying to keep their tournament alive for as long as possible here. The longer of match 6 they see, the more Apex they get to play.
Low profile tactic. Well, I looked there and I was like, I swear they dropped over at Echo and they've only moved to Coastal Camp, but
now they're into Barometer.
Now they're into Barometer.
More information.
The snail rotate coming in from Dory.
Dory opting to play the Newcastle Pathfinder Watson composition. It does offer them a lot of options for mobility and also some security as well, with the 2 defensive legends to work with. But Gen G, I mean, it's been an interesting journey for them leading up to this point. They're currently on 68 points on the overalls, which I would say is a dangerous total if they were to be eliminated here. With the teams that are still able to play, you want to push yourself up a little bit more. Just to give you an idea, the current cutoff for bottom 6 is 50 dead. But so many of those teams down in that area still have to play.
Ninjas in Pajamas going to be playing the bottom of the rock formation here around the Spider Cave. And above them, it's KSH. Not going to be too worried about any funny business coming in from NIP here, considering that there's not a huge amount of altar in the lobby, and certainly they are not running it.
Target spotted.
But they will have to move by the looks of things in a few moments' time, and NIP then become a problem. They're not going to be safe inside of this zone. Still just under 2 minutes until they do have to move. Ninjas in Pajamas will be safe, but Kurasame Havoc is going to do something about them.
When we get to the later stages, a lot of these Watson teams are going to be relying on these gens to keep them alive. So it has to be a target for teams who aren't running the Watson. You have to make sure you eliminate the gen completely. And it is worth checking in on Dory constantly, because if they do die in this game, they are out. They would be our first team confirmed out of the tournament and key to be crushed.
Bad news for them is that Elite Esports are in Cenote Cave right now, and they are firing down onto them.
Perfect fight to take. They've already won it once so far.
True. Kurosame Havoc are also looking at it, so this deep zone rotation from Dory is looking a little bit sketchy, if you ask me.
They don't want anyone who's in the tournament to eliminate them but the ring, it would seem. They do have to be careful, because even though they've been taking a long time and I'm sure built up a lot of meds, if they have to go back into the zone after being forced out once more, it's going to be uncomfortable.
It looks like they're hitting an evac right now, maybe a zip line. I'm keeping you updated on Dory's movements. On Limit, GK are behind them at the moment, just peppering them a little bit. In front of them are going to be Elite Esports and Gen G. Gen G are still inside of the armory in front of them. But now they're going to be safe. You can see the top left. They are safe inside of this zone, so On Limit don't really have to do too much here.
Well, I think a lot of teams feel the same way. We don't need to move. We need more information because we don't want to commit as the zone continues to transition a little bit further west. Somewhat southwest than it was before, so great news for Kurosame Havoc. And actually, if Dory can somehow wedge their way into zone, Dory, it could be massive. But again, look at the troubles they're going to go through trying to force themselves in. It's not just Kurosame, it's NIP that are there as well.
This is the most invested in a game I've ever been. I'm a lifelong Dory fan. Over to Unlimit again, a little bit of damage being taken. Dory making their play. Dory making their play. Couple of trades on either side though. Hiramune brought back to his feet by the Newcastle, but he gets knocked down again. They get the castle wall down. Ninjas in pajamas though. They've moved up behind them. This is a scary moment. The tournament life is hanging on by a thread as Sheila starts to sing. Dory are dead. They are gone. And unfortunately, their tournament is over as well.
Our first confirmed team to be eliminated here at EWC and the ALGS Split 1 playoffs. And finally, Mark can stop being so invested, and we can start to look now over towards it's Falcons versus Alliance. And two of Alliance have gone down. One has been able to escape to keep Alliance in the fray, but it's a successful hold of Mill for Team Falcons.
Just wiping away a tear. Sorry.
There's always next year. Maybe we can make a request that Mark has to crush the key of Dory.
No, come on now. Well, Falcons win that team fight, like you say. Get some good damage, get a couple of KP to their name. Now, Gen G, they're involved in this fight around the armory. They've been trying to hold it for quite some time, and hold it they do. GK Esports will be eliminated second in the lobby. A little armor swap being dropped off. You know, Dexter can grab that on his way back to his feet. Ziki pops the bat, and Gen G will hold.
Yeah, some of these teams that are on the northeastern side are kind of in a bit of a skirmish. Here they are, Wolves versus Shopify Rebellion. Rebellion are the ones that are being held out by Wolves at the moment. They have the castle wall down and they are applying the pressure. So Shopify Rebellion looking to see if they can rotate around this mountain instead.
Gen G are fighting once again by the looks of things, although that may have been a knock from distance onto Asia. VP from the Godrock starting to do some damage, and they're going to be real damage output masters with the position they have. The problem is the zone is pulling away from them, and Ninjas in Pajamas now find themselves in prime position. Zone is continuing to pull towards them. For RRQ, they will have to move to the south, although they will be safe for the next zone. But Shopify Rebellion have got a long way to go. Team Heretic's just been eliminated. And Zap is going to have to blast his way forward here with that Kraber in his hands. Unlucky still alive here for Alliance.
Heretics eliminated on 66 points as a total. That is not a comfortable number to be on. They are certainly going to be watching with bated breath as we get into the next set of groups. Flat have just lost 2 as well. Falcons and Nemesis working hand in hand to eliminate them, so Flat do go down.
Falcons have got quite the rotate to make as well. Now, Hao does have a zip line available. He's taken the purple perk to give him 2 of them. One has been used, but he's still got one in the arsenal of Pathfinder to use to get them a little bit closer to this zone when they have to make that play. But with teams still surrounding them, leaving at any point is a risk, taking that damage. It's going to make that landing a little bit more difficult to stick.
And it's a very important game for Falcons as well, because even though they have most likely secured their spot in the match point finals, it's about being as high a seed as possible for that POI draft. You're not catching Elite Esports, you know that. You want to try and set the pace above the likes of AG Global and Team Liquid who go into this next series.
Gen G are having a Gen G game right now where they're winning fight after fight. Unlimited are down, and it's Gen G again who will be the benefactors. Shopify Rebellion though, they're looking to swoop in. The Kickstart drone is down. Asia just about manages to take it down to 3v2 though, a 3v1. Dexter's on his own, and Shopify, you get the feeling they won't lose this one. Gen G are gone.
They fall, but it's a better points total than they were about 20 minutes ago, so they may have just done enough. Again, though, they will be keeping a keen eye on these next matches they're going through. Shopify Rebellion just forced their way back into Zone now.
I mean, they have to. They have no choice. Zone is at their back. Zap's got a Kraber in his hand. Zone is burning. Fusel is down, but Shopify just too much to ask. But by holding out Shopify, Kinetro Club have just been eliminated, and it looks like the boys are back in form. They had a couple of quiet games in Elite Esports. They're back in the game. Unlucky just falls for Alliance. The solo is dealt with, and Alliance will be gone in this lobby. 11 squads remain.
Well, Alliance going down does give the opportunity to Elite to take the lead in this series now, as Virtus Pro also get eliminated. Could we see Elite go back to back to back with their group stage series and win every single one?
Nemesis on the height, down to a duo. Inside of this building is RRQ. They've got here early. And down on the low ground underneath is Team Falcons. And Alb finds Waltzy. We were talking about weapons that are synonymous with players. Well, let's talk about legends. This man knows path better than anyone. And with the angles that he's taking, you can see exactly why.
Yeah, I love this position from Nemesis and Alb in particular. But it's not going to be a safe one come this zone moving in 20 seconds, so they need to have a game plan effect as Falcons still surviving, using the geometry in their favor here to survive. RRQ have just lost Pricey and Easy Flash, so they're going to be down to just a solo now.
So difficult to push at this point, regardless of if you get that first knock, because you have Falcons underneath. Nemesis is a duo, by the way, doing a huge amount of work here. RRQ are going to lose Pricey, so now they're down to a duo. This makes Falcons' job a little bit easier, actually, on their rotate, knowing that there's two duos around them. You'd be less inclined to try and fight, and having seen the damage been done, Falcons now make their play forward, but there's a lot of angles that they're vulnerable from. And Guild and Howe are both down to two different teams.
Zip, zip, hooray. Both teams zipped in and both teams have gone down by the looks of it, or at least lost a couple. RRQ will be finally eliminated as well. That last remaining player could not get away. 9 squads now remain as Falcons also go down to Nemesis this time. Somehow, Nemesis are going on to Falcons once more.
Team Falcons just been eliminated. A combination of the lobby taking care of the America's powerhouse. KSH, they're in a stinger bolt. And they managed to just about survive. Team Nemesis have fallen. Good KP picked up a couple of extra points for them as their way towards the zone was always looking treacherous.
So now as we look at teams who have got a good position going into this final circle, NIP, Sentinels are in a good spot as well. Wolves are trying to hold out Elite at the moment, and it's going to be just kinda the last remaining player alive. And their chances of winning every single group dies with him, but it was still an incredible one, and they are still going to be the #1 team going into these next group stage matches.
Wolves looking for another win. BK Gaming just been eliminated, but a much better game from them in the top 6. Cole is not missing, by the way, with that long ball up on the high ground. And Ninjas in Pajamas, we mentioned how they're in the best spot for this game. They continue to be. They have the ultimate height that you can see on your screens right now, with RC below them, Wolves now below them as well, and Sentinels tucked in right alongside them.
Kurosami Havoc, by the way, going into this game, they were very much at risk and vulnerable, and whilst they still will be in those dangerous numbers, they're at 67 points!
Apex Legends is a horror game. Kurosami Havoc had no idea that RC were about to peek around that corner. And reject by name, they reject them trying to take their spot away.
Have they done enough, Kurosami? It's a good match 6 from them to give them the chance. As now NIP at the start of the day, it was a question of what if, but they have solidified their spot at least in the survival stage.
Monsoon with the Mastiff. Renock. Urice has to play behind the knockdown. Might be able to drag Fon back to his feet here, but it's actually allowed both players to get back up. Monsoon with a chunk. But here come Wolves. They swing to clean up the final pieces of both Sentinels and RC. Slap ball takes someone somewhere. We'll have to see if there was a return address on it. Reject will be eliminated. And Ninjas in Pajamas now versus Wolves Esports. And Wolves down on the low ground are going to have to watch NIP fall.
This one might be a slow and painful death for Wolves.
Vane's making a play here.
They're just going to hold them out.
There's one from Cole. And he's hungry for more. Cole wants to finish this off himself. NIP are back. They will win the final game here in this series. And the doubts from yesterday have evaporated.
And the question is, have Ninjas in Pajamas done enough to give themselves a chance at the match point finals? It looks like that answer is no, and it is most likely a survival stage run for NIP. But still, an incredible final match for them, and they got the job that they set out to do done. Not be eliminated from the competition at the first foremost, but also put themselves as high up as you can so you get a good POI draft going into that survival stage. But now this is where it does get interesting. Two groups have completed all their games, they have set the pace, and now it's for the rest of these groups, A and D, to start chasing.
Now they will become professionals at preying on the downfall of others, which is always a horrible, sometimes fun place to be in, depending on what end of the leaderboard you are at. But they will know what they have managed to achieve, they will know what their points totals are, and they will know what will be enough and what won't come the end of the next series, which is coming up a little bit later today. But that was a fantastic 6 games, you have to say. Every single game, some high quality Apex legends, as we would expect at this stage here on LAN. A reject getting into that end game. This was just such a simple finish. The big moment of this for NIP, not only did they get the early rotate to get the height, but I think it was the wrap from Dory that just caused the chaos up on the high ground. They were able to just jump up, clean that up, and then they had no challenge essentially for the rest of the game.
Just reminded me Dory got eliminated. Genuinely though, it is very sad to see our first team eliminated from the competition, but for NIP, they will be delighted to get that victory on the board. And just to give you an idea of the lay of the land and where those numbers are and who currently holds the cutoff positions, it's going to be RRQ, who currently sit in 14th at 104 points as the chasing total for teams who want to get into match point finals. And down in the elimination stage, Dog Red currently hold the last eliminated position at 50, chasing Aurora's 51, which is the current cutoff. There are plenty of points to be found, because if you bear in mind that in this group in particular of what we just saw, and you're going to see it shortly, the amount of points you still see the bottom teams putting up.
Yes.
15 odd points on the board. So you're still going to be worried that even a bad performance might catch you.
Wolves, they get 17 points on the board in that game. We'll take a look at that, man. It doesn't really matter what the series results are. That's what we're really focusing on here, to try and kind of line up what the rest of the teams have to do a little bit later today. But one thing that just surprised me when you mentioned that, like the Aurora name being on the cutoff of not just making it to match point final. I'm not talking about that, we're talking about elimination. Elimination's crazy.
Elimination is crazy, and it's really where everyone's eyes is going to be initially, because it's easier to calculate as well. But then when we start to think about the POI draft, don't remind him already, but that's the key of Dory. That is going to be crushed, the first to be crushed today.
There must be some way I can negotiate it not going in. It's going in there. It's going in there.
It's an updated crusher as well from last year. New and improved. I've heard it crushes harder.
It crushes like it's never crushed before.
Exhausted are the players as they were put through the ringers there. As now they're only going to be able to watch on and see what happens with the other teams that are involved. RRQ, it wasn't necessarily the best series for them. They finished down in 17th. but because of their day one performances in particular, they're still going to be alive in this competition.
You really can see how much it takes out of the players. Usually between games, you see people kind of taking a second to take a breath, but when it is done, you could see like the mental efforts that go into it. I mean, we're exhausted after a day of commentating on the game, let alone being involved in the intensity of every single moment. A lot of time to recover here for these players, and maybe not a lot of time to recover emotionally, as they're going to have to watch these points be collected by the teams in front of them. But Barney's down on the floor right now. Barney, who have you found? If I'm not mistaken, that looks like Unlucky.
And that right there is how you turn a frown upside down. I'm joined by Unlucky here from Alliance. A very different mood today, we could say, right? Game 4, 4.5k damage. You absolutely went nuclear. Talk about today. Just talk about today in general as an overview and how much happier you boys must be.
Honestly, like overall the game started like really good. You know, first game we had like 10 points, and the day in general already started very, very well for us. So they got like the ball kind of rolling. The zones are really unlucky for us overall again today, like the past 2 days. But we finally got a zone in game 4, and we popped off with 21 kills. Shout out to my boys, they actually played phenomenal, so yeah.
They did indeed. Now, I've got to touch base a little bit more about day 1 and 2. I know that we spoke to Hackers yesterday. He very graciously gave us an interview, which obviously must have been tough because you guys were having an uphill battle, let's say, in day 1 and 2. From your perspective, I know we talked about zone pulls being a struggle. Was there anything else that you were having some issues with in day 1 and 2?
Honestly, I think, as you said already, the zones were really, really unlucky for us, but we were lacking in, I personally would say for myself, in confidence and self-belief. In believing myself, like in the edge fights, we kept losing fights, and there was like mainly, you know, I would say confidence, because our comms were good, our vibes were good always, and yeah, I think it's literally just confidence. So
did you come into today with a lot more positivity in mind, and that's why you kind of popped off? What do you think contributed to this performance today?
I would say definitely like a mental reset had to be done, right? After the first 2 days, otherwise it would be chalked, right? But yeah, I would just say positive vibes was the key after those past 2 days, because it was really, really terrible. I was like, at least personally, down the trenches. Like I was like down all the way here. So yeah, I'm happy to be here now where we're at.
Well, speaking about being happy, I've got to tell you one more time before we let you go. I've got to give a shout out to your boys, but also a shout out to the fans who have come in to support. How much does it mean to you to have them there in the crowd shouting for you guys? They are the loudest in the arena right now. So would you like to give some love to them?
Absolutely, all the love in the world, really. Like, I appreciate all of you guys. All the support is always really amazing. We can hear you guys from all the way back here chanting. I really support you. Like, I just appreciate all of you. And also shout out to my dad for coming here to Paris. I love you so much. Thank you so much for coming. It really means so much to me. So yeah, thank you so much.
Let's hear it for the dads. I like it. Unlucky, thanks so much for joining me in this interview. We have another interview locked and loaded for you with Graceful on the other side of the stage.
Thank you, Barney, as we are now here as well with Ken from Kirisame Havoc, who's just had a really tough series so far. Actually, you were in a couple of end games where I was looking forward to. I was like, yes, he's making it through, because I had a chance to talk to you a little bit earlier today. I was looking forward to what composition changes you were about to do. So how did you feel overall went today for this couple of games?
The games today were on average, I think. It wasn't a bad set that we have, and it wasn't a worst one. So hopefully we'll pull it through.
I mean, I think as long as you make it by further into the tournament, you played good enough. And right now we're at that cusp where you might make it, you might not make it. It depends on the series, but I think you ended on, did you say 67?
67, yes.
Yeah, so 67 overall points could be enough to make you go through. So now, you know, you're gonna have to watch the next games holding your breath, maybe get some snacks and relax so you can recoup in case you have to go back on that horse again the next day. But one thing that I found really interesting while I was talking to you earlier is that you actually, you're the IGL, and you communicated on mainly English on the old roster Supernova, if I'm correct, and now you are IGLing in Chinese, yes. Is that correct? Right. So how do you really feel the differences? Is it easier, is it harder on the languages?
Since we're from Southeast Asia, it's normal to have a person to think multiple language. So surprisingly, I can speak okay English, so I actually IGL in Supernova using English. So since my mother tongue is Chinese, so it's easier for me to IGL in Chinese actually. So actually in the beginning it might actually be tough, but You just have to get in there. You get what I mean? Yeah.
Just have to get to the practice and eventually you'll definitely get it going. Well, I'm so happy and thankful for having this interview with you. I really hope you get some rest, some food, and you get to recuperate in case we do see you tomorrow. I will hold my breath and cross my fingers to see if you make it through that line, because it's going to be really tight, okay? So until then, it was a great interview. Thank you so much for having us. And hey, Barney, back to you.
That's right, Graceful. Come on over back here because we've got another interview for you. And of course, it's with the man, the IGL, the demon. It's Light from Elite Esports. Light, you guys are playing so incredibly well. We almost had a historic moment today because you almost placed top of every group stage day that you guys played in. Today, it didn't quite pan out, but still a super impressive day. As the IGL, alongside Henchman and alongside Kinda, do you feel like it's your job to kind of not let anyone get too overconfident because you're fragging out incredibly well?
Yeah, I mean, for sure there's lots of scenarios where Kinda and Henchman are like, can we kill this? Can we kill this? I'm like, just chill, boys, just chill. We like need to chill a little bit. We have good zone, like we don't have to do anything. And they're like going crazy, like, can we kill this? Like they just want to kill. This LAN is like, I don't know, it's incredible performance by them. Like I'm surprised. There was like no expectations from us coming into this LAN, to be honest. And boys are like fragging out of their minds, and I don't know what to say like most of the time. Like it's insane.
So what's like your IGL style, would you say? Because obviously you've got these two kids, they want to frag out as much as they can. You're holding them back and you're trying to look at zone pulls. What's your style in particular? Like, do you have a particular style in mind?
I mean, I'm like the type of IGL that's always in front. Like I have always Kinda in my back on like Maggie, Seer, just helping me. I'm in front because I want to like know what's happening. So it's easier also to call like plays for me, because I don't want to like ask Kinda, can we do this, can we do this? I just want to call it, so it's easier for us. And I have always Kinda in my back, Hench anchoring, like we need, if we need Hench, we just call him. Kinda is like just pulling out insane numbers on people, like just fragging out of the mind, and it's just like going really well. Like the game is just easy.
Oh, it's easy. Now, I mean, before I let you go, Esports World Cup, it's got to be a great experience for you guys so far. You said that there wasn't any expectations coming into this tournament. You're now, I mean, we can all assume, I'm pretty sure it's a guarantee, you're through to the final day on Saturday. Tomorrow you've got the day off. Saturday, what's the expectation for you guys now? Because you performed like this. Is it, I assume coming into this tournament you might have been, top 5 would have been good, but now it's got to be all about winning in your mind, right?
I mean, as a coach taught me, you just play our game, and what happens, happens. If we do bad, so be it. But we're aiming to win it, of course, and yeah, I mean, that's it. We're just trying to win. What happens, happens.
Light, you've got a good head on your shoulders, my man. Thank you so much for joining me in this interview. Congratulations to Elite Esports for performing incredibly well over the last 3 days of the group stage, but we've got plenty more action to come, so don't go anywhere. We'll be back after this short break.